Scientists have declared a red alert. Fall 2025 threatens to become the coldest in recent decades. Instead of warm autumn days, icy winds, and torrential rains like in November. But this is just the tip of the iceberg of climate chaos that's engulfing the entire planet. While monster Hurricane Erin raged in the USA, breaking all records for intensification speed, the remnants of this natural cataclysm are already moving toward European shores and could strike America, Russia, and Europe with an additional blow. Meanwhile, scientists are using terms we've never heard before: climate horror, temperature collapse, weather roller coaster. Experts say directly, nothing like this has happened for more than 1,000 years. Prepare for the most unpredictable season in meteorological observation history. And this is only the beginning, because winter 2025 to 2026 could become an even harsher test for the entire world. What's behind this climate madness? Why has nature declared war on our familiar way of life? And most importantly, how will this affect each of us? Hurricane Erin, which raged in the USA in August, became a real shock for experts worldwide. This monster showed what previously seemed impossible. In just 24 hours, Erin transformed from a relatively harmless tropical storm into a Category 5 maximum strength hurricane. The speed of such intensification left even the most experienced meteorologists speechless. Erin turned out to be twice the size of an average hurricane and became one of the fastest growing storms in Atlantic history. Experts are already calling it a possible turning point in understanding tropical hurricanes. Due to rising water temperatures under climate change conditions, the probability of such rapid intensifications will only increase. Most alarming is that Erin isn't an isolated case, but merely a harbinger of what will happen increasingly often in the future. The American Weather Center forecasts an active hurricane season with 13 to 18 storms, of which 7 to 10 will reach hurricane strength, and 3 to 5 will become major Category 3 hurricanes and higher. But the connection between American hurricanes and European weather is much closer than it might seem. Erin's remnants are already moving toward Europe and could influence cyclone formation that will reach Russia. According to meteorologists' forecasts, these cyclones could pass north of Moscow, bringing additional cooling in the first half of autumn. Therefore, Europe finds itself in no less difficult situation. According to a long-term forecast published on weather.com, fall 2025 in Europe will develop under the influence of complex interactions between global and regional climate factors. This sounds scientific, but practically means one thing: nobody knows exactly what to expect. A particularly interesting situation is developing in Germany, where meteorologists use a mysterious century-old calendar for forecasts. Of course, truly dramatic events are unfolding in the USA, which is experiencing one of the most destructive hurricane seasons in history. After Erin, meteorologists are already tracking a new weather anomaly in the Atlantic Ocean that could turn into Tropical Storm Hernan. The Hurricane Monitoring Center reports alarming news. The environment apparently favors further development of this anomaly. In simple terms, ocean conditions are so ideal for hurricane formation that new monsters will appear one after another. Some agencies predict that 2025 could break all records for the number of destructive storms. The total damage from extreme weather disasters in the USA is expected to reach $390 billion. For comparison, this is more than many countries' GDP. Water temperature in the Atlantic Ocean, Gulf of Mexico, and Caribbean Sea already significantly exceeds average historical values. This creates ideal conditions for explosive storm development. Experts warn that rapid hurricane intensification will again become the season's main theme. The tendency toward hurricane formation near land has become especially dangerous. These storms give very little preparation time, unlike those that form in the open ocean. They arise over warm coastal waters and within hours turn into Category 5 monsters. One of the most alarming scenarios is repeating the situation with Hurricane Ian in 2022. Then the storm strengthened from Category 3 to Category 5 in just a few hours before making landfall, leading to catastrophic destruction in Florida. In 2025, such surprise hurricanes could become the norm. But hurricanes pose a threat not only to coastal areas. Erin created more than 60 tornadoes along its nearly 1,900-kilometer path from the Texas coast to northern New York State. This means consequences of ocean storms now reach the continent's very heart. Meteorologists warn of increasing inland hurricanes. Storms that form not in the open ocean, but near the coast. Cold fronts penetrating to the Gulf of Mexico can create rotating motion areas over warm waters. The result is instant formation of powerful cyclones right at the shores. Scientists forecast particularly high risk for northern and eastern Gulf Coast areas, as well as the Carolinas. Atlantic Canada and northeastern Caribbean regions are also under threat. This creates a vicious circle. Warm oceans spawn powerful hurricanes, whose remnants travel across the Atlantic and bring bad weather to Europe and Russia. And disruption of familiar air mass circulation, in turn, creates even more extreme ocean conditions. Now, it's time to talk about what all these climate catastrophes mean for ordinary people. And the picture isn't rosy at all. Sharp cooling and prolonged rains will require residents and city services to fundamentally restructure their entire way of life. Utility services are already sounding the alarm. Heating systems designed for gradual activation in October may not cope with sharp cooling already in autumn's first half. Millions of Russians will wake up in the morning and discover that radiators are cold while it's only 3 degrees Celsius outside. The transportation system will also come under attack. Sharp temperature changes and heavy precipitation will create ideal conditions for ice formation on roads. Agriculture will face catastrophe. Sharp temperature changes during harvest time could cause enormous damage to farmers. In some areas, crops may die right in the fields due to sudden frosts. Experts are already warning about possible food price increases by winter, but there are deeper changes society will have to get used to. Climatologists say such anomalies are ceasing to be exceptions and becoming the new normal. Perhaps this very autumn, we'll have to reconsider our familiar understanding of seasonality. Experts are particularly alarmed by the fact that similar processes are occurring worldwide. In the USA, economic losses from extreme weather phenomena have already exceeded $350 billion per year. Europe is preparing for a wave of climate refugees from regions that have become uninhabitable. Sociologists are documenting changes in people's behavior. More and more families are creating emergency supplies of food, medicine, and warm clothing. Generator and heater sales have increased dramatically. People are instinctively preparing for the worst-case scenario. And now it's time to talk about what awaits us ahead, because autumn catastrophes are merely a prelude to the apocalypse that meteorologists forecast for early winter 2025 to 2026. And here, it's no longer a joke. We're talking about potentially one of the harshest winters in meteorological observation history. After an abnormally hot summer and catastrophically cold autumn, we face a winter that could break all severity records. Meteorologists warn that temperatures in individual regions will drop to levels unseen for decades. This will become a serious test, not only for people, but for the country's entire infrastructure. Already in December, which usually begins relatively mildly, people may face frosts down to 20 degrees, and by New Year, thermometer readings could drop to 30 degrees and even lower. For Russia and Europe, such December temperatures are a real catastrophe since they're typical of mid-January. But this isn't the limit yet. January promises to become a month of real trials. Abundant snowfall and blizzards capable of paralyzing major cities will be added to usual frosts. But we'll discuss this winter forecast in more detail in a separate video. Climatologists link these forecasts to a number of global factors. The main culprit is identified as the weakening Gulf Stream, that same Atlantic current that traditionally softens European winters. Without this natural heater, Europe and European Russia could turn into an icy desert. But there's even more ominous news. Researchers discovered that the Gulf Stream is now weaker than it has been at any time in more than 1,000 years. If this tendency continues, the consequences will be catastrophic. Deprived of the warm current, Western Europe will suffer from much more extreme winters. In some parts of Norway, temperature could drop by more than 20 degrees. Many North European ports will freeze and won't be able to function in winter. For Russia, the Gulf Stream shutdown means the beginning of a new climate era. Winters will become significantly harsher and longer. Spring may shift a month or two later. and the short summer won't be able to compensate for energy needs for heating during long cold months. In the USA, an active hurricane season will continue, which could become one of the most destructive in history. Europe is preparing for an extreme autumn with early frosts and hurricane-force winds. Scientists call this the new climate reality. Sharp transitions, extreme phenomena, and complete unpredictability are becoming the norm. Humanity has to adapt to a world where weather no longer obeys familiar laws. That's all for now. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel.